I've heard some of it's like urban legend of the pranks that he would do on the set. I've heard stories about like him talking to people and have a frog.
Frogs. Well, I was the frog getter.
You were the frog getter.
I was the accomplice.
Okay.
He'd lean over and go, half pint, get me one. And so I'd go down to the pond and I'd get a couple frogs and he'd put them in their mouth. And usually he did it when there were, women on the set just kind of standing there ogling because, he's walking around without his shirt on and his paw pants and his boots and his suspenders.
Fans of Little House on the Prairie were both disheartened and flabbergasted when the show's final moments featured the dramatic destruction of Walnut Grove. But what truly happened behind the scenes, and why did the cast witness their beloved set go up in flames? Melissa Gilbert revealed the truth. Today we're taking a closer look at the real reason for the explosion, the cast's reactions, and some surprising facts that even diehard fans might not know. Michael Landon's explosive idea. When Little House on the Prairie ended its run in 1984, fans expected a touching farewell. What they got was fire, dynamite, and complete demolition. It was Michael Landon, the show's creator, executive producer, and star, who made the unusual decision to blow up the set. The idea wasn't just for shock value. The land where the show was filmed, Big Sky Ranch in Simi Valley, California, had been leased, and the production needed to vacate the area. Rather than leave the iconic town of Walnut Grove to be taken over by other productions or simply rot in place, Landon chose a dramatic send-off. His reasoning was both sentimental and practical. He didn't want to see Walnut Grove reused in other shows or commercials. The town had become a symbol of the Little House legacy, and Landon felt it deserved a proper farewell. Demolishing the set was his way of protecting that legacy. Melissa Gilbert's reaction. Melissa Gilbert, who played Laura Ingalls Wilder, has spoken candidly about what it felt like to watch Walnut Grove burn. For her and much of the cast, the explosion was heartbreaking. This wasn't just a collection of buildings, it had been a second home for nearly a decade. Gilbert described the day as both shocking and surreal. Watching the buildings fall one by one was like witnessing the end of an era. But there was also something cathartic about it. The act of blowing up the set allowed the cast and crew to close the chapter in a dramatic and final way. It was a ritual of sorts, one last moment together as the town they had called home disappeared before their eyes. Gilbert has said that while the moment was sad, it also felt strangely fitting, especially for a show that had tackled themes of hardship, resilience, and letting go. The one building that was spared. Even though most of Walnut Grove was turned to rubble, one building was left standing. Michael Landon made a very deliberate choice to spare the church and schoolhouse. In many ways, this building had represented the heart of the community in the show. It was where Laura taught, where sermons were given, and where town meetings were held. Landon felt the symbolic core of Walnut Grove shouldn't be destroyed. By preserving the church and schoolhouse, Landon gave fans a small piece of continuity. It was a quiet nod to the values the show had always stood for: faith, learning, and community. The explosions were real and done in one take. The destruction of Walnut Grove wasn't done with special effects or clever editing. Those explosions were real. Michael Landon hired a demolition crew to rig the entire set with dynamite and pyrotechnics. Each building was loaded and set to be destroyed in a single coordinated take. There was no room for mistakes. If something went wrong, there would be no second chance. This gave the final moments of the last farewell a rare authenticity. Cast members stood nearby as their former set was leveled in front of them, with cameras rolling to capture every second. The explosions were loud, intense, and final. Landon had experience directing action scenes from his earlier work, so he handled the shoot with a steady hand. The results were unforgettable and unlike anything else seen in a family drama of that era. Before we continue, have you ever wondered how action stars like Chuck Norris stay in shape in their old age? We were recently sent a video that he made, and we couldn't believe our eyes. At 85 years old, Chuck Norris is still staying active, working out, and kicking butt. What's even crazier is he says he still feels like he's in his 50s, with more strength and endurance than he had in his prime. He even has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids. He achieved all of this by making just one change, and after seeing his results, his wife started doing it too. She says she feels 10 years younger, her body is leaner, and she has energy that lasts all day. Chuck personally made a video that explains everything, which you can see at chuckdefense.com/facts, or by clicking the link below this video. You won't believe how simple his secret is. Just go to chuckdefense.com/facts or click on the link in the description, and it'll completely change the way you think about your health. At 85 years old, the legendary Chuck Norris has more energy than men half his age. Once he discovered the 3 things that sabotage our body as we age, he was able to find a solution that he now credits with transforming his health. See his method for yourself by clicking the link in the description below or visiting chuckdefense.com/facts. Behind the scenes, more than just castmates. While viewers saw a tight-knit frontier family on screen, the real-life relationships behind Little House were just as meaningful. Melissa Gilbert has often said Michael Landon became a father figure to her, on set and off. She was only 9 years old when the show began, and Landon helped guide her through the ups and downs of growing up in the public eye. Other cast members formed similar bonds. Karen Grassel, who played Caroline Ingalls, shared a more complicated relationship with Landon, at times marked by tension, but ultimately respectful. The child actors remained close well into adulthood, and many still stay in touch today. Surprising facts. Little House on the Prairie might feel like a cozy period drama, but there are plenty of quirks behind the curtain. For instance, the famous opening credits, where Laura and her sisters run down a hill, nearly ended in disaster. Melissa Gilbert once tripped and fell so hard she thought she broke her arm, though she brushed it off and kept filming. Michael Landon, known for his strong work ethic, wore many hats on set, writing, directing, and acting. He also had an offbeat sense of humor. Between takes, he played pranks on the crew, including setting off firecrackers and hiding rubber snakes in the props. Another lesser-known fact, the show wasn't actually filmed in Minnesota. The fictional Walnut Grove was brought to life in Southern California, which often meant filming in blistering heat, despite the snowy Midwestern setting portrayed on screen. How the show's end reflected its themes. The decision to end Little House on the Prairie with the destruction of Walnut Grove wasn't just about vacating the set. It fit with the show's deeper themes. Throughout its run, the series often dealt with loss, change, and the strength to move forward. Whether it was a failed harvest, a family tragedy, or a town in crisis, Little House always showed characters adapting with dignity. In The Last Farewell, the townspeople blow up their own homes rather than allow a greedy land baron to take control. It's a powerful moment, and it echoed the show's belief in personal values over material things. Michael Landon didn't just want to wrap the series, he wanted to make a final statement. The end of Walnut Grove was sad, but it was also defiant. It captured the spirit of independence and resilience that defined the Ingalls family and the larger community. Fan reactions and lasting legacy. When the finale aired, fans were shocked. Many expected a soft, sentimental goodbye, not a literal explosion. But over time, the ending has become one of the most talked about finales in television history. Viewers who grew up with the show have described the final episode as emotional, even haunting. Seeing the destruction of a place they loved made the end more real. The show's legacy hasn't faded. New generations continue to discover Little House through reruns and streaming. It remains a staple for families looking for stories about perseverance, love, and community. How the cast feels looking back. Years later, cast members have reflected on the experiences with a mix of nostalgia and awe. Melissa Gilbert has said that filming the final scenes felt like saying goodbye to part of her childhood. Watching buildings burn that she had walked through for years was emotional, but she also understands why Landon chose to go out with a bang. Other cast members have shared similar sentiments. For many, Little House was more than just a job, it shaped their lives. Allison Arngrim, who played Nellie Olson, has often joked about the final explosion, but even she admits it was surreal to watch. What stands out most in these reflections is the sense of gratitude. The cast knew they'd been part of something special, and they've carried that with them ever since.
I think definitely. Oh, without a doubt. Michael Landon is probably one of the strongest influences in me professionally. Michael found me. 9 years old. 200 girls went in to read for Laura, and he found me.
He discovered you.
He's the one. I owe him a lot.
Filming the final explosion. One emotional day. Cast and crew gathered to witness the destruction of Walnut Grove firsthand. Some brought cameras of their own. Others stood silently, taking it all in. Melissa Gilbert recalled the weight of the moment, watching the familiar buildings, homes, stores, landmarks collapse in clouds of dust and flame. Each explosion was carefully planned and filmed with multiple cameras to capture every angle. The production had only one shot to get it right, since there would be nothing left to redo. In interviews, Gilbert has said people cried on set that day, not from fear or regret, but from the knowledge that an important chapter in their lives was closing. It wasn't just the set that was being torn down, it was years of memories, stories, and friendships. Melissa has often spoken about the letters she receives from fans still. Some thank her for portraying Laura, others say the show helped them through difficult times. The legacy of Little House isn't found in a set or location, it lives in the lives of the people who watched, remembered, and were shaped by it. Now it's time to hear from you. What's your favorite memory from the show? Let us know in the comments section below.